Okay, welcome back to the Planets program. This is going to be version 2. So we have this happening. And I just want to show, putting in a few changes. So the first thing would be to do something with user input. Right now, the program has to be killed. So let's take a look at the planets.cpp. Okay, we have a while loop here, so instead of just continuing forever, I want to get a character. And there is an example where we did this. So the loop here is with getCh. So there's a function. So I'll have int ch equals getCh. Okay, and then I can go, sure, why not do while ch is not equal to q, and then I'll have to here every time do get ch. Okay, so I've just added in this get ch into my loop. The only issue is I don't want to wait until we type something to do this. I want to keep doing this. So there is a function that we already have in here, the init curses. One of the things we have in here was the half delay 1, which makes it so that getch will return after a tenth of a second no matter what. So we're going to lose a tenth of a second every time we call this, which could affect the speed or accuracy, but let's just kind of see what it looks like. Okay, that's no good. Let me see what's going on. Okay, a little bit of a change. You may have noticed the screen has changed a little bit here. Let me put it back to the way it was, and then we'll... So this is the way we had it. Okay, so this getch is going to take a tenth of a second. And then we're going to do this stuff. This is going to basically take no time, because there's only a handful of objects in our solar system. A couple loops do a handful of things is not very much. And then we're going to check, is it been, this redraw rate is a tenth of a second. Has it been a tenth of a second? So we go ahead and draw. So we draw, wait for a character, do a little movement. So this is the thing that moves things just a tiny bit. So move things just a tiny bit. And then this is going to happen again. So really what was happening before was we would do a lot of these, a lot of updates of internally the computers, figuring out where things go, and then every tenth of a second you draw where the new one is. So what will be happening now, this takes a tenth of a second already. It's basically going to just alternate between these two things and nothing will happen. So I think what we want is a different way to think about it. So we're going to do this a certain number of times to move things forward enough, and then we're going to redraw. So the reason for this is because we're always going to be waiting a tenth of a second because of this getch. That's just the limit of the curses setup. So we don't need this clock redraw anymore in this mode. So move objects tiny little bits a lot of times. The reason we do it a lot of times is because that's going to be more accurate. You can think about, we're trying to approximate a curve by taking little steps, little lines. So the more little lines we have, better approximation of that curve we're going to have. All right, let's try this out. Okay, so there it goes. The whole point of this was I wanted to be able to press Q to quit. I pressed Q and there it is. Okay, so now the cool thing that that opens up is we're taking user input. We could do other things with the user input. Okay, so something that we could think about changing is this 100,000, which we can think of as a speed. Okay, so I'm going to go into my objects.h, and maybe I'm going to put a speed in here. I actually don't need a redraw rate anymore. Instead, I want a, well, I could call it redraw rate, or I'll call it speed. Okay. Speed of simulation. So how fast is it going to redraw? And then that's the thing that I want to redraw rate. So I'll call this speed equals something. Let's see, over here, 100,000 seemed to be kind of a good number there. So why don't I make that, so that is 5 zeros. So I'll call this a 5 for speed 5. And then here I'll do w.speed there's a function called pal. Let's see, that's 10 to the 5th. Okay, so now I want to put some instructions for them. I can do Q to quit now. I want to tell them that they need to do Q to quit. And do you remember where that goes? Where would I need to do that in the way I have things set up here? Draw curses is where things get drawn, so that's the right place probably to draw this. Okay, so there's my planets, and maybe I don't want to mess with that, so I'll put some instructions here. MV print W, and maybe I'll put it at 0, 0, just to put it somewhere, so put it like this. And then I'll do speed. I'll actually draw that and then put plus minus. Okay, so this is called my speed right now. And then maybe I'll handle the plus and minus characters to increase or decrease the speed. Okay, before I try to change it at all, let's go ahead and make sure that that will display correctly. So there it is, speed 77, that doesn't look right. So. Okay, so speed is coming from here. There's speed. Let's go back to our objects.h. Right. It should not be a double. I'm thinking of this as an integer, something that you can go up and down. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so we'll do, all right, that looks better. You would quit. Now, if I want to deal with the plus and the minus, that's all going to go in my main. So for now, I'll just put it here. Maybe we'll move it. So if ch equals plus, maybe we'll go ahead and put this into w dot input or something like that. Okay, so we'll make a new function and we'll deal with the input there. If they're just typing one character at a time, this will work. So objects.h, we're going to add a new function here. I just need to define it here. I'm going to have something called input that takes a character. And then I need to define it over in my other file. So somewhere here, this is inside of the world class, and it's called input with char ch. Okay, so I could do a if ch is plus, I'll go speed plus plus. If ch is minus, and speed is greater than. I don't know, we'll just let it go negative. Speed minus minus. And that should be tied in all right to the main. We get the character, that goes into the input, that goes into the speed, and that determines if we have a higher speed. This loop happens more times before we do another draw and get character. Okay, so I'll type a plus, and so how much faster should it go if it works? So the things move 10 times as far. It's still only drawing every 10th of a second. So if I type the minus, go back to 5, it's not moving as far each 10th of a second. So if I want to draw things more often than 1/10 of a second, then I would need to do something a little bit different. Okay. Another thing that would be natural to change here would be the scale, so that we could zoom in and out. If you recall, that was set up initially with something called set scale in the solar system. Loading the solar system, we had a set scale. It said this value, which is something. So let's see, what would we want to do here? That scale is a double value. Maybe we want to just increase, decrease. So we should tell the user what they should type. So we have Q for quit, speed, and maybe we'll have zoom. So for zoom, we want to do some characters, maybe left and right for in and out. All right, so then we want to do those characters here. If ch is left, maybe that means, I don't know whether that means zoom in or out. Scale. Okay, so we're either going to times equals 2 or going to divide equals 2. Maybe that means zoom out. So times equals 2 would be zooming out, I think. let's see, all right, so if we do a less than and greater than, and Q, let's say if we go back to our load solar system, I actually had the outer parts of the solar system commented out because it wasn't displaying nicely, but now we have the scale. This will look much nicer. So by default, the scale goes to the furthest out. If you look, it doesn't look like things are really changing that much, and that's because the outermost planets are what we're seeing in terms of the scale, and they do take longer to get around the sun. So we can try to zoom in now. And we're seeing another interesting effect here. Let's start this over, and then I can. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go on the speed, actually minus, and zoom in. Okay, so we see, let's see, there's the Earth. If we increase the speed, should see it move a little bit more. So there's the Earth moving. You see Jupiter doesn't really move so much here because it needs to move enough to move one character, and it just takes it longer, it's further out and going slower, even more so the further you go out. But there's something else that has an effect on the performance here, or how fast it's going, is how long does it take to do this stuff, because that has to happen, and there's a get ch. Okay, so we do this a certain number of times, but how long does this take? So that was compute G. For every pair of objects, we do something in here. All right, if we have 5 objects, this is 0 up to 5, this is 0 up to 5, that would be 25, 25 different times we do this gravity calculation. Running time of this is order k squared, where k is the number of objects. Okay, so if you have 5, it's 25. If you have 10 objects, that's 100. So 4 times as slow, which is interesting because of that comes in here. This part of this part of the program, which is really most of the time for this loop, is spent inside of here. So if that's 4 times as slow, then the redrawing will look like it's 4 times as slow at the same speed. So at the same speed level, if I add more items, it'll look slower. Okay. Let me pause the video for a second. Okay, let's do one other thing here, and then we'll be done for now for this video. I want to load another scenario. Okay, so we have load solar system. I want to make a copy. I want to do a different. Maybe I want to load a binary star system or something like that. So I'll go and look at load solar system, and I'll basically do something similar, but then change make it so that it's only like 2 stars. Actually, I'll leave this. So let's say that we had 2 stars. We have S and, I don't know, little s. And let's say that they're this far away from each other. 57.9 E6, so that's Mercury. And then I'll have another one, negative 57.9 E6. All right, and that's all we're going to have. So, and I now want to call this load binary. Let's see. Need to put that also into objects.h. So there's, let's see. There are the 2 objects. We sort of see them, yeah, they got off going this way. So for this one, it's kind of going to matter that we did something with the set initial v. So let me just change this to show you the way this will work. Looks like they're both sort of flying off. So maybe the, right, maybe that initial velocity calculation isn't doing so well for this setting. Right, so just to try and kind of see what's going on there, we could go ahead and maybe change that speed after we load the binary, so we can have w.speed is, start out being 5, maybe we'll make it 3, and the scale maybe we'll also times that by 2 right away. Try and see what's going on. Okay, so we can see that at least they look like they're kind of circling each other. But then something happened. All right, not going to investigate that here. Put a wish list. And maybe we'll put it here. Wish list. Colors, obviously blue. Trail, so that would be path of object, the trail on the screen. So you could see the orbit. Other predefined systems. exosystems, so other planetary, other real sun, other real solar systems, right? Parameters from those. You could do the Jupiter and moons. That would be kind of interesting. I suppose maybe you could do Earth and Moon, or anything else where you have some real data that you could load in there as a starting point would be kind of cool. Fix the issue with initial velocity. There's a hack in there where we're not doing it for the sun, but really we should do it, well, various ways to fix that little issue. You name it. Maybe some other stuff shows up here. All right, that's it. If you want to play with this in your own directory, then you can copy off. I'll make this version 2. Let's see, star version 2. All right, so then that will be the way it is if you want to play with this version. And then the next thing will probably be to have a homework assignment about this. All right, good luck. Have fun.